Your brain is shrinking right now. After the age of 30, the human brain loses roughly 5% of its volume every single decade. By the time most people reach 60, their brain has physically shrunk to the size it was when they were a teenager. But here is what neuroscientists discovered that changed everything. This shrinkage is not inevitable. Researchers at Harvard, UCLA, and the Karolinska Institute have identified people in their 70s and 80s whose brains look identical to someone half their age. They call them superagers. And when they studied what these people do differently, they found 5 specific habits that not only stop brain shrinkage, but actually reverse it, growing new neurons and new connections at any age. This is not theory. This is measurable on brain scans. And today I am going to break down each habit with the hard science behind it, so you can start protecting your brain before another day of damage goes by. Chapter 1. The BDNF Revolution and Why Your Brain Can Grow at Any Age. For most of modern medicine, scientists believed you were born with all the neurons you would ever have, and that the brain could only decline with age. That dogma was shattered in 1998 when researchers at the Salk Institute proved that the adult human brain generates brand new neurons in a process called neurogenesis. The key molecule behind this discovery is called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. Think of BDNF as Miracle-Gro for your brain. It stimulates the growth of new neurons, strengthens existing connections between brain cells, and protects neurons from damage and death. A landmark study published in Nature Medicine found that people with the highest levels of BDNF had brains that aged 40% slower than those with the lowest levels. 40%. That is the difference between being mentally sharp at 80 versus developing cognitive decline at 60. The critical question is, how do you increase BDNF? And the answer leads us directly to the next 4 habits. But first, you need to understand something crucial. BDNF levels naturally decline with age unless you actively stimulate production. Every single habit on this list has been scientifically proven to boost BDNF, and the effects compound over time. Your brain is waiting for the signal to grow. These habits are that signal. Chapter 2. Aerobic exercise, the most powerful brain growth drug ever discovered. If exercise came in a pill, it would be the most prescribed medication on Earth. A groundbreaking study from the University of British Columbia found that regular aerobic exercise physically increases the size of the hippocampus, the brain region responsible for memory and learning. Participants who walked briskly for 40 minutes 3 times per week for 1 year showed a 2% increase in hippocampal volume. That does not sound like much until you realize that the hippocampus normally shrinks 1 to 2% per year after 50. So exercise did not just stop the decline. It reversed 2 years of brain aging in 12 months. The mechanism is BDNF. A single session of moderate exercise increases BDNF levels by 200 to 300% for several hours afterward. But the real magic happens with consistency. People who exercise regularly have baseline BDNF levels that are permanently elevated compared to sedentary individuals. Research from Columbia University showed that the type of exercise matters. Aerobic exercise, anything that elevates your heart rate, is dramatically more effective for brain growth than stretching or resistance training alone. Running, cycling, swimming, and even fast walking all trigger massive BDNF release. The dose response is clear. 150 minutes per week of moderate aerobic exercise is the minimum. But studies show that doubling that to 300 minutes produces even greater brain volume increases. Your brain literally grows in proportion to how much you move your body. Chapter 3. Deep Sleep and the Glymphatic System, your brain's overnight cleaning crew. In 2013, scientists at the University of Rochester made one of the most important neuroscience discoveries of the century. They found that the brain has its own waste removal system called the glymphatic system, and it only activates during deep sleep. During the day, your brain accumulates metabolic waste products including beta amyloid and tau proteins, the exact proteins that build up in Alzheimer's disease. When you enter deep, slow-wave sleep, your brain cells physically shrink by up to 60%, creating channels between them. Cerebrospinal fluid then rushes through these channels like a power wash, flushing out all that toxic waste. If you are not getting enough deep sleep, this cleaning process gets cut short, and those toxic proteins accumulate night after night after night. A study from the National Institutes of Health found that just one night of sleep deprivation increased beta amyloid buildup by 5% in the brain. Over years of chronic poor sleep, this accumulation dramatically accelerates cognitive decline and increases Alzheimer's risk. But here is the hopeful finding. When researchers restored deep sleep in older adults using targeted interventions, the glymphatic cleaning system reactivated fully. The brain's waste removal worked just as well as in younger subjects. The protocol for maximizing deep sleep is specific. Keep your room between 60 and 67 degrees. Eliminate all light sources. Stop eating 3 hours before bed. Avoid alcohol, which destroys deep sleep architecture. And maintain a consistent sleep schedule even on weekends. 7 to 9 hours is non-negotiable, but the quality of that sleep matters even more than the quantity. Chapter 4. The omega-3 brain connection that most people are ignoring. Your brain is roughly 60% fat by dry weight, and the most critical fat for brain function is an omega-3 fatty acid called DHA. DHA makes up over 90% of the omega-3 fatty acids in your brain and is essential for maintaining the fluidity and function of every single neuronal membrane. A 20-year longitudinal study from the Framingham Heart Study, one of the longest-running health studies in history, found that people with the highest blood levels of DHA had a 47% lower risk of developing dementia compared to those with the lowest levels. 47%. That is nearly cutting your dementia risk in half with a single nutritional factor. Researchers at UCLA discovered that DHA directly increases BDNF production in the hippocampus, and that omega-3 supplementation could reverse the cognitive effects of a poor diet in animal studies. A randomized controlled trial published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that adults who took 2 grams of omega-3 supplements daily for 26 weeks showed significant improvements in memory, reaction time, and cognitive processing speed. The problem is that the modern Western diet provides almost no DHA. Our ancestors consumed roughly 500 milligrams per day through fish and seafood. The average American today gets less than 100 milligrams. The solution is straightforward. Eat fatty fish like salmon, sardines, or mackerel at least 3 times per week. If you do not eat fish, supplement with a high-quality algae-based omega-3 that provides at least 1 gram of combined EPA and DHA daily. This single change provides your brain with the raw building material it needs to maintain and repair itself for decades. Chapter 5. Cognitive Challenge and the Concept of Cognitive Reserve. Here is a finding that surprised even the researchers who discovered it. Nuns in the famous nun study who had extensive brain damage from Alzheimer's plaques showed 0 cognitive symptoms during their lifetime. They were sharp, articulate, and mentally engaged until the day they died. When autopsies revealed their brains were full of Alzheimer's pathology, scientists were stunned. How could someone with a brain ravaged by disease show no symptoms? The answer is cognitive reserve. These nuns had spent their entire lives reading, writing, teaching, learning new skills, and engaging in complex intellectual activities. This constant mental stimulation built such dense networks of neural connections that even when disease destroyed some pathways, their brains had abundant backup routes. A meta-analysis of 22 studies involving over 29,000 participants found that high cognitive engagement throughout life reduced dementia risk by 46%. Learning a new language, playing a musical instrument, solving complex problems, and engaging in novel experiences all build cognitive reserve. But passive activities like watching television actually accelerate brain aging. A study from the University of Alabama found that just 10 sessions of cognitive training produced measurable improvements in processing speed that lasted for an entire decade. The key principle is novelty. Your brain grows when it encounters challenges it has not mastered yet. Doing crossword puzzles every day stops helping once they become routine. You need to constantly push into unfamiliar territory. Learn a language. Take up an instrument. Study a subject you know nothing about. Every time you struggle with something new, you are literally building insurance against cognitive decline. Those are the 5 habits that keep your brain young, while everyone else's is aging and shrinking. Aerobic exercise to flood your brain with BDNF. Deep restorative sleep to activate your brain's cleaning system. Omega-3 fatty acids to provide the raw building material for brain repair. And constant cognitive challenge to build an unbreakable network of neural connections. The science is overwhelming and the evidence is clear. Brain aging is not something that just happens to you. It is something you can fight, slow, and in many cases reverse with the right daily habits. Start with one habit this week, add another next week, and within a month you will have a complete brain protection protocol. If this video gave you value, subscribe to Longevity Lab because every week we break down the latest science on living longer, sharper, and healthier. Drop a comment telling me which brain habit you are starting with today. I will see you in the next one.